welcome to Skate Date.
It's Skate Date.
Guess who's back? It's Shove. She's back.
Unfortunately, I am back. Just
Yay.
kidding. I am back. I really liked last week's episode, though.
We all missed you, though. Even though we liked last week's episode, we missed you.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta ditch someone on a date, you know?
Yeah, just to keep it spicy.
I don't want to be a simp and be here every damn Wednesday, you know? Like,
Yeah,
sometimes I got other plans. I have a life outside of Skate Date.
That's my job. I'm here to be the simp. So what is Skate Date, babe?
Skate Date is a podcast. Oh my gosh. I skipped 1 week and I'm like, oh no, what is it? Skate Date is a podcast brought to you by two roller skaters who are in love. They created this podcast because they realized that they have many opinions inside and outside the skate community. So here we are every Wednesday bringing you this lovely podcast on YouTube and everywhere else you get your podcasts.
Yeah, and honestly, we also just want to be friends with you, so that's what we're doing too.
Yeah, we talk about the real world and the will world, and we also help you find your own personal skate date, whether it's platonic or romantic, and we try to answer questions.
Yeah, that's the exact layout of our show. So I hope you enjoy it. I am Rebel.
And I am Shove.
And together we are Shovel.
Can you dig it?
Yes, I can.
Alright, so we had a crazy week last week.
Yes, we did. So today's topic is going to be religious trauma.
Ugh.
Ugh.
And if you follow us, we're going to talk about that wonderful photographer that wanted to make a photography book about roller skaters.
Yeah, we're going to talk about what happened. And but other than, all the deep, heavy stuff that we're about to jump into, I had a pretty good week.
I've had a stressful yet amazing month. We are recording this on is it the last day of May today?
I think tomorrow is maybe the last day of May.
So May was filled with many skate adventures. Almost every skater that I admire has been flown in at some point or another in the last month. And I got to meet a lot of amazing skaters for the first time. Some of them I had met in passing before. Mm-hmm. So I definitely got to skate a lot, which was dope. I've seen such an improvement in the short amount of time with both of us, to be honest. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I'm also an introvert though, so it was very draining. I was talking to my therapist and I was just like, she was like, how have you been coping with things? And I'm like, coping? Who has time to cope? I was like, I just keep going. Like, work's been insanely busy. I'm back in school, which I do at nights 2 times a week. And then just either hosting people or going to hang out with people. And today was my first real day off in 12 days. Or 13 days, and the first time I didn't see any friends, whether it was them coming over here or me going to them. So I'm a little drained right now, but I'm doing good.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, you have really been doing it way more than you usually do it, so I'm proud of you.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's awesome. I've been having a lot of fun too. It's just been skating and finishing up the semester. So the semester just finished. I submitted my grades a couple days ago. And now I'm diving into this new summer season, which is, I don't know.
Are we taking a break from Skate Date for the summer?
No. That's interesting and funny though. No. So we should jump into today's ad. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it.
Today's ad is for KIANA'S Etsy shop.
I do wanna.
Have you met Kiana? Do you wanna? If you haven't met Kiana yet, you're missing out. 1, because they are an awesome person and an awesome skater. But that's not what this ad is for. This ad is for their artwork. Their artwork is incredible. On their Etsy shop, they have earrings, they have stickers, they have all sorts of fun things that they put up. And one thing that I absolutely love about KIANA'S artwork is that 1, it's so creative, and there's always some sort of clown aesthetic to it. But 2, they're always using their artwork to help out the community. I don't think I know anyone else that helps out the community as much as Kiana does. And I think that that is one of a million reasons why you should purchase things from Kiana's shop.
Yeah, if their Etsy is Kiana You Wanna, of course, because everything is Kiana You Wanna.
That's some universal branding right there. That's awesome.
It's easy to remember. That's how I feel about mine. All right, so I don't know. I just love everything from the clown aesthetic to all the turquoise, because they are the turquoise deity.
They really
and
are.
I just really, 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 really love the don't snake, communicate one.
Yes, it's so good.
So important. I actually got snaked at the skate park. What was that, yesterday?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so that's never fun.
Yeah, and I just think that, like, I definitely want people to know don't snake, communicate, and it'd be much easier for me to just point at a sticker that I have instead of yelling at them. And also, the snake on the sticker is very unassuming.
Yes, and let's not forget that you should always support queer, non-binary, Black artists. So check out Kiana You Wanna for all your amazing needs.
Let's like buy out everything that they're selling so that they can be like, wow, this is so awesome, and make that moment happen for them.
We'll put the link to Kiana You Wanna's Etsy in our show notes.
Yeah.
All right, you want to head on over to the real world?
Let's go.
All right, so we're in for a doozy. I'm going to go ahead and start this out because I'm really not going to have much to say.
I'm honestly really not excited about this segment.
Rebel's going to do most of the talking because you'll find out. But anyways, I'll start off with religious trauma. That's what we're talking about. For me, just like how I was raised with queerness and was very privileged to just have parents that were just like, yeah, people are queer, they're here, and not make a big deal about it, as I've talked about before. So I just thought, like, okay, cool, queer people, right? With religion, I was also very privileged because my mother was raised Catholic, so of course the Catholic guilt was in there deep. My dad was raised Baptist, and neither one of them went to church. Like, their parents were like, once they were 18, it was like, all right, now you're an adult, you choose if you want to go to church or not. And they both were like, whoop, screw that, we're not going to church then. So when I grew up, like, I have never been baptized even. And there was never anything until maybe when I was like 8, 9, around that age, they were talking to me about religion, and they said, we don't care what you are as long as you're not sacrificing animals. And I was like, okay. So what they did was send me to every neighbor, because we lived on a very, like, dynamic street. Like, there was kind of everything. They sent me with my neighbors to go to their church. So I went to a Jehovah's Witness church. I went to a Christian church. I had been to a Catholic church with my grandma before. I really wanted to go to a mosque and to a temple, but I never had the opportunities to. But they wanted me to experience each different, what's it called?
Religion?
Sect? Yeah.
Denomination?
Yeah, every different denomination, to kind of get to feel like what felt right to me. Which I thought was awesome, because they just wanted me to believe in something. And I think it is true that, like, if you literally don't believe in something, you will die for anything. You'll die for nothing. It's like you have to have something. Like, even if it's not, like, a god of some sort. Like, there has to be something that you're like, okay, this is good.
Yeah, like, it could be, like, family, I feel like.
Yeah. So some people are literally like, skating is my religion. Like, that's what keeps them sane. That's what they believe in. A sense of community. You have to have, basically for me, religion is just a sense of community. Something that will look out for you. So I went to all of those, and none of them really felt right. The Christian one was fun because it was a mega church, and it had like, the kids were on one side in this huge building and the adults on the other, so it was like games and candy, and like, didn't feel like church. Catholic was like so stuffy, and I was like, this is scary. And like the Jehovah's Witness, I was like, this isn't for me either. And then I was like, whoa, this is intense, yo. And there were way too many rules. It was very sexist, to be honest. Even as a kid, I was like, wait, why do all the women have to wear really long skirts and can't, like, what do you mean none of us can, like, I don't know. It was just too many rules in that one, too. And then I did go to a Baptist church for a while, and I even ended up teaching Bible study to the other kids. Don't know how. They didn't realize I had never even been baptized. And just slipped through the cracks there. And I remember thinking, like, I don't know, like, okay, I've read the whole Bible twice now and it's a thing, but like, it never really felt right to me. And it felt like, this is my religion. Not sure if this was my God. Like, it was a lot of things there, but I never, like, got sucked into it too much. I think it's because, like, so when I saw people, like, feel the Spirit, and, like, the pastor would come over and put oil on our head and, like, push us and be like, start yelling and speaking in tongues, and people would pass out and they'd put a white blanket over them. And I remember the first time I saw it, I'm not gonna lie, I was like, what the hell is happening? I was, like, freaking out. Because when you're not raised in religion, that shit looks crazy. You're just like, whoa, like, that looks... The first time I heard someone speak in tongues was in the Jehovah Church, and I thought that they were possessed. I thought, like, oh, Satan is in their body, because I grew up in scary
that's
movies.
basically the whole idea, except it's like the Holy Ghost is in your body instead of Satan.
Yeah, but when you're a kid that grew up on scary movies, and you, like, no one's told you about that, you're, like, terrified. Because you're like, oh no, Satan's here, demon, possessed. But why is everyone happy and laying hands on them? Oh, it was terrifying for me. So then, like, it happened again when I got older in middle school. And I remember just being like, oh, okay, so, like, God's talking to them, so it's a good thing. But then I've always been a realist, and it was really hard for me to, like, believe in it. But I always felt like it was important for people to have that, because some people really need, like, a book to follow and to guide them, and they really need that sense of community, and they need rules to live by for structure. So I always, like, have appreciated religion and what it does for people, and I think it is really important to be there. Like, I'm not an atheist, I am a spiritualist, and everyone knows I'm a witch, so I do practice things like that, but when in the day I'm not praying to gods and goddesses, I am just trying to be a good person and live my life through a code of what my conscience says is wrong or right. So when it comes to religious trauma, for me, I don't really have it because I didn't grow up into it. It never really took up a big part of my life. It was something that I just got to test the waters in and fill out and say, okay, I've experienced it, but not to my core. So that's why I'm going to really let Rebel talk about it. And I might ask some questions or something, but I really want her to take it over because I know that this is a sensitive subject for her. And definitely, babe, if you don't want to talk about it all, like, I totally get it. We can skip to the next segment because we're opening a door here. But I know there's a lot of people that also deal with this. And, like, I've seen it, and it's something people are recovering from or are still in it. So take it over.
Yeah, so you might have to help me through this one. And by help me through, I mean, like, I've blocked out a lot of stuff, so just, I know that you know a lot of it, so you might have to help me through it. So,
wait, do you want to tell people what religious trauma is first?
Yeah, how did we skip that part? Usually I get definitions right in the beginning. Yeah, so religious trauma is when you have experienced any type of religion kind of in your life, and it has impacted you coming out of that religion. Like, say you've been in the religion, you come out of the religion, and that experience within religion has impacted you in a negative way. So it is thwarted the way you view the world, or you view yourself, or different things about the world, like maybe you don't understand because you were never taught about that because you were in this religious bubble, or even you were taught to view things in like a totally different way than how you actually do now, or how the world actually is. Is that a good definition?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I grew up in a very Christian conservative family. My mom is a pastor. My dad was a missionary growing up, or from his teens on. He did this thing called teen missions, and he traveled around the world telling people about Jesus. And so growing up, my mom and dad were very, very, very religious. And we moved from church to church a lot when I was younger. My mom's also deaf. I know I've mentioned that. So she would travel around and like be at different deaf churches for different stints. And so, I have a lot of experience at a lot of different denominations within Christianity. So I was at like an Assemblies of God. I was at a non-denominational church. I was at a Foursquare church. I went to school at a Baptist church. Like all sorts of experiences I've had. I also went to Christian school from K through 12th, actually technically from pre-K through 12th grade. So I went to Calvary Chapel, which is in Costa Mesa, which is like the head Calvary Chapel of all the Calvary Chapels. There's like Calvary Chapels everywhere. And the main one, that's where I went to school. So my world was very much so just Christianity and just religion. And I was honestly really into it. Like growing up, like I was 100% like Jesus freak, like believed in it all 110%, like went to camps and like was in the church all day long every day. So like we went to church 3 times a week, sometimes 4, like Sundays all day long you were at church, you know, like this was very much so my life. And then when I graduated high school, I ended up going to a cult, but it was like a hyper Christian cult. So, I don't think that this is the episode that we go into all of that, but I ended up in a super Christian cult, and that made it even worse for me. So that like deepened all of the like hyper Christian conservative values into my body and my system and my brain, and essentially like brainwashed any like of myself that did exist and replaced it with these ideas of like super Christianity. So all of that is like the background.
Yep.
So
I think what's important to also mention is just, I don't know, do we get into like the heart of it of like, what do you think, like when was the moment that you would say you left the church? Is it because you left the cult?
Yeah. But even then it was like weird because I did like kind of keep ties with the church even after I left the cult. Like when I left the cult, it was a big reckoning moment for me, like a really big reckoning moment. And I just kind of was like, if this is what God wants for me, and if this is who Jesus is, like, I don't want any part of it, and I don't want to be here, and I don't want, you know what I mean? Like, the person that I had become was a literal shell of myself, and I was like, if this is what Christianity is going to create within me, I don't want to be a part of it. And so I totally swung the other way, but there was definitely moments where I was like, it was like I missed the community is so real. But then I got so, like, it was like people were trying to get me back. But as soon as they realized that I was like, no, like, I'm not going to be that person anymore. Like, I'm no longer, like, that person is dead. Like, I do not exist in the way that you remember me. Like, as soon as people realized that, it was like, that's when things really started being like concreted for me, because people started treating me so poorly just because I like wasn't the person that they expected me to be. And so there was definitely this like reckoning moment. So I would say in 2010 would be when I parted from the church.
I know when you came out, you were nervous because a lot of your friends, well, obviously your family, but a lot of your close friends that have known you your whole life that you still talk to are Christian and very involved with the church. So you were nervous about coming out to some friends as much as your family members. Growing up in your church, I know you said you didn't grow up being homophobic, but like you knew it existed. But what created that fear of coming out? Because I think especially, it's Pride Month now, y'all, and a lot of queer people specifically have religious trauma, and a lot of it is because they're grown and told that this is a sin. So it's really hard for them to have this complex of like, even if they want to believe in God, but also are told that God hates you because you're gay. So for you, can you expand on like growing up in the church and how people, how you perceived queer people while navigating a Christian life, and then why afterwards you were still afraid to come out to your Christian friends?
Yeah, so I grew up being told that being gay was a sin. And I actually didn't know anyone at all. Like, I had zero contact with any gay people until I was in high school. And then one of my best friends, his name is Sean, I actually ended up being the person who married him and his now husband. But one of my best friends in high school got kicked out of the school because he was gay and they found out about it. And I just remember being like, what the hell? Like, you seriously got kicked out of school for being gay? And like, I knew him and I knew that he was just like a normal person. And so that was my first experience with like homophobia directly, and I mean like indirectly through him. And I never like opened the door, like, you know how people are like, oh yeah, like I knew I was gay. It's like I didn't know because I literally didn't know that was an option. Like, I didn't think of that as an option. And that's why it was such like, it blew my mind so much when I realized I was gay, because I was like, oh, I didn't know that this was like, this explains so many things for me. Like, so many of my behaviors and the way I viewed the world and the way I experienced life made sense, me being gay. But like, I didn't know that. And so like, I was just taught that was like a sin. You stay away from it, period. And like, besides Sean, like I literally didn't know anyone who is gay. And so, yeah, so it was weird. And then like, yeah, coming out of the cult, that's when like, you know what? Earlier I said I parted the church as soon as I left the cult, but that's a lie. I tried to go back to the church and I was like a youth leader for a while after I came back from the cult, thinking that that would like make me feel better about my life. And I did that for like a couple years or 3 years or something like that. And then they kicked me out because I had sex. And I was like trying to like rectify these two things where like I had sex and I was like, this isn't that big of a deal. But like, I've been told my whole life that like, if you have sex, then that like your value as a person like decreases a shit ton. And so like having that experience, not feeling like having sex was that big of a deal, and then like being kicked out of the church for it when like I was in charge of these girls that nobody else wanted to be in charge of because they were like the troubled girls. And so I just called them my divas. And I was like, you're my divas, and like took care of them, like took them to the abortion clinic, took them to be put on a 5150 hold, like did all of this stuff for them, and then to just be kicked out and not be able to like help them when they were seniors. I was kicked out because I had sex and they found out about it. And so it's just kind of like, I don't know, it's like any time that I go back to the church or any time that I have any sort of interaction with like religious people, for the most part, it's ended in this like pain. Like, it's ended in me just getting stabbed again. Like, it's never just been like chilling. Like, it's always like fucked up.
It's hard because I know a lot of our listeners are, no, I don't know if a lot, but there's definitely a percentage that are Christian. And I skate with people that I consider like good friends that are Christian, go to church every Sunday, but have never judged me once. And I've gone to their house, I've met their parents, and we're allowed to exist because we don't judge. And I think a lot of times we don't worship the God, we worship what the people that follow are saying and their personal opinions. And people take the Bible too literal, and they take it literally, but then they pick and choose what they want to follow. When it comes down to it, this is a book that has so many rules in it, and we're breaking all of them, but then the ones they're focused on is the sex, the abortion, and being queer. And it's like, but everything else is okay. Like, and it's just like, what? But like, there's people that have messaged me before that are like, I studied theology, and like nowhere in the Bible does it say this or that. And like, we're just like going off of like all these generations, how people have twisted it and picked and chose and thrown things away and then created this version of the Bible, and now this is what we're gonna make of it, when it should just be the basics of like being a good person, taking care of one another, not judging, forgiving, like all these things that you see go not just in Christianity, but go through every religion. When you break it down, all the fat, when you pull all the fat off, you see that the bones are the same in pretty much every single religion. And I think that a lot of the pain that happened to you was because of like the dark side of religion that we forget, we don't really talk about. And I know a lot of people, this is going to be really uncomfortable for this conversation to happen, but we're just being honest. Like, this is how everyone views it. Some people view it in a different way. We don't all have positive experiences with the church. We're not really judging people that are religious, but we are talking about how we need to really sometimes look in the mirror and ask ourselves if we're being good people.
I want to make it clear that I don't have a problem with Christians. Like, I don't have a problem with you being a Christian. Like, if you're a Christian, great. Like, more power to you. I know from personal experience from when I was a Christian that there were so many positive things that came out of that for me. Like, that sense of community. Like, my family was hella poor, and the church literally came around and supported us. The majority of my childhood, I had a significantly better childhood than I would have had I not been a part of the church. And I do think that a lot of the values that Christianity teaches are very important and really awesome. But I have an incredibly deep hurt by people within the church. So much so that, like, I struggle with a lot of the way people talk to me. I think it hurts more to me because there's so much more pain there. So, like, homophobia based in religion, it hurts me more than it would hurt someone else, because there's so many layers of pain that exist there. Because I have so many friends that literally just cut me out of their life, or I have, you know, the conversation with my parents that happened when I came out, with my dad straight up telling me that I'm going to hell, with my parents telling me that they're never going to come to my wedding because they can't condone our relationship, with, you know, all these things that have happened. Like, I have such a pit around me, around, you know, so many things, that even when people say things that, I don't know, aren't intentional or don't necessarily, aren't really that cutting per se, like, it cuts me because my trauma is like right under the surface, you know, like I just have a thin layer of skin because it's still fresh and I'm trying to heal from it, but it's, I don't know, it's hard. Like, I literally have been like exorcised by the church. Like, I have literally been tied to a chair and like had the Bible thrown at me. Like, I have literally had people like pray in tongues over me for hours and hours and hours because there are things wrong with me that need to be fixed. I've literally had people try and put me on a 5150 hold. Like, I've literally had all of these things happen to me. And so for me, like Shove knows, like, I literally can't watch religious-based scary movies because it's like too real for me. And then I also have this weird complex where I like can't figure out what's real and what's not real a lot of the time because I was raised in this super Christian conservative household. So like, I honestly didn't get all the facts.
Yeah.
Growing up.
I had to show her like a documentary about dinosaurs, and it was like, there's little things that are still like ingrained in your brain about like, no, it's saying that the earth is this many years old, but the earth's only this old because that's what the Bible says. Or just things that happen in history that like
I never learned about.
Christian schools don't touch on because that's not what's important to them. Or like science isn't important because, you know, evolution. So there are things that like, it's a miracle because you were still able to like get your master's and go through and you're like a very intelligent person. But then there's certain things that's like, You just never were given the opportunity to learn.
In my science class, I didn't learn about evolution. I learned how to debate that evolution was wrong.
Yeah. And I don't know, it's like anyone listening that's straight, like, they kind of to an extent, it's like, oh, that's messed up. But if you're queer, you've seen where people yell at you, or it's pride and there's protesters and they're holding signs that says God hates fags, which is just like, just breaking down what that sign says is just like such like, that doesn't make sense. You're like full of hate. You're screaming at people that are in love. And even you have an offensive word on a board right next to God's name. Like, so it's like, it doesn't make sense. And then like, it's really hard to function and really understand and trust people as soon as they tell you that they're a believer, because it's attached to queer people that you're someone that's going to hate us. Or even you're going to be like Rebel's parents and say, I accept you, I support you, I'm an ally, but I'll never go to your wedding and you'll probably still go to hell and your marriage won't be really real. So it's like, what? Like, it's really hard. Like, it's just like this whole like mind fuck of like, okay, can I trust you? Or like, do you secretly hate me? Like, I know I've had to lose some best friends I had for years. Okay, I'm just going to throw it out there. I haven't really talked about it on here, but I've had an abortion. And when I really needed my best friends to be around, I remember asking them like how they felt about abortion, and they were just like, well, it's an ultimate sin. Like, you shouldn't be having sex then if you're not ready to have a kid, and like all this stuff. And that's when I realized, like, you can't tell me you love me, but then, like, tell me I'm going to go to, like, spend eternity in hell. Like, you're not my friend, and, like, I don't want to be associated with you if you, like, are like, oh, no, God hates you. It's like, no, you hate me. Like, you don't support me. And these were people that I knew had slept with married men and, like, definitely were promiscuous and did all these things that are sins, but I'm the biggest sinner now because I did that. So I think it's like really hard. Like for me, I guess if I said religious trauma, it would be like I have this huge mistrust when I find out someone does go to church, because I want to believe that they're going to be a loving, understanding person, and that because I respect people that have different religions, but then I'm going to be like, oh, are you that kind of Christian? That's why I always have to wonder. Like, I always have like that like shield up, like, oh, you're gonna be someone that's gonna find out I have a girlfriend and like all of a sudden shun me, or like, what is it gonna be?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have many people in my life who I used to be so close with, like used to be the level of family, and now I know that the only reason why they talk to me is because they're trying to convert me back to Christianity. Mm-hmm. And like at that point, like, I now don't trust anybody, because I just think that everyone's trying to, you know, everyone has some sort of ulterior motive and is just trying to like change me into someone that I'm not. And it's really hard. It's really hard to deal with. And every day I have something from my religious trauma that comes back to haunt me. Like every single day. It might be a small thing. It might be a huge thing. But there's something that impacts my life on a day-to-day basis from my religious trauma.
So, now that you have a little more background of just our experience with religious trauma, I think it's going to give you a better understanding of what happened in the Will world that we're going to jump into. Because the events that we're talking about wouldn't have hurt as bad if it wasn't for the religious trauma. So let's head on over to the Will world. Alright, so
this episode is rough.
We're in the feels. I almost cried, but I didn't. And I saw your eyes water up. We're going strong, you know?
I mean, that's what this podcast is all about. This podcast is here because we want to reveal more things about our lives that isn't just like, we are people who skate, you know? Like, We want you to know the real us.
We're in our 30s. We've been through some shit. We've seen some shit. Mm-hmm. We have opinions, not just because we read about them, but because we've been through them.
Yeah.
All right. So it all started with my friend Kiana. That's right. Kiana, you wanna.
The one from the ad.
So they hit me up and they said, hey, there's this photographer on TikTok that wants to do a photography book about roller skaters. And I hit them up. They didn't want me because I'm non-binary. Yellow flag there. Because they wanted to be only about women. And I thought, okay, like, oh, that's weird. Like, not non-binary as well. But it is cool that, like, girl power, like, I get it if that's what they want to do. And Kiana said, I just think it's important that they at least have some of the leaders of the community because they don't know about roller skaters. So I don't want it to be a bunch of just like random people that skate and maybe some of them aren't the best of people. Like they need to have like the heart of the skate community. And I thought, oh my God, that's so cute because you think we're the heart of the community. And I was like, that's awesome. So I messaged this girl, Badlands Photo, and was just like, oh, I heard about your book. Like, sounds cool, whatever, blah, blah. Basically Rebel's the one that you talked to her.
Yeah, I was gonna say I messaged her. You didn't message her.
What happened though? Like, how did it go from Kiana telling me and then
Kiana told you, but I had already seen it and was already messaging her.
Yeah, because I told you and you were like, I already messaged her.
Yeah, right? I already messaged her.
Yeah, and like she seemed like a little chubby girl, cute. Like took really good photos. We already saw the photos she took of Katie and another skater. Really loved her editing style. We're like, this is tight. Mm-hmm. It's going to be awesome. And usually I'm like, oh, I don't want to meet up with. But if it's skate related, I'm like, hell yeah, take a photo of me. So Rebel's the one that's best at like messaging people and setting things up. So yeah, how did you feel about her at first?
Yeah, so I was just like, hell yeah, photography and hell yeah, a roller skating book. Like I didn't really have any thoughts besides that. Like I was just like, oh, I do remember being like, yo, like, if this is really about Long Beach skaters, like, we should be in this book.
Yeah.
And so that's why I reached out to her. I remember being like, oh, I feel like we should be in this book. But then I do remember thinking, like, is she a skater? Like, where did she come from? But then thinking, well, then I guess we just got to tell her. Like, we just have to tell her who's in the skate community. We just have to tell her, like, this is what the skate community is about, because I would hate for the skate community to be misrepresented. So that was my first thought, like, oh, I have to message her. So I messaged her right away. It was like, hey, like, me and my girlfriend would love to be a part of this book. We're staples here in Long Beach. We love the skate community. We could tell you about lots of people within the skate community and about the skate community. And that's how I hit her up, and she was like, yeah, awesome. Like, cool. Let's set something up. And so we set something up. And then she was like, I'll come over to your ramp. And I was like, great. And that was the setup. That was the whole setup. And then she came over. I think she came over in like November-ish. Do you remember?
Yeah, it was like November.
It was like November-ish, and she like took pictures, and it was super like chill. I remember being like, oh, I hope that we took good enough, like that we looked good enough in these pictures. Mm-hmm. Well,
she also said though, like while she was at our house taking pictures, she was like, yeah, every skater that I've asked, like, oh, who else should I take pictures of? Like, multiple people mentioned you both. So I thought like, oh, I have to take pictures of you.
Yeah, and then she was like, oh, I was thinking that, like, if we get a really good picture, then y'all could be on the cover. And we were like, oh, cool, that's so awesome, you know, very cool. And, like, that's how it ended. Like, it was just, like...
Yeah, and, like, we saw the pictures. She sent a link. Rebel was like, I'm just going to screenshot them, so we have them.
Yeah, she sent a link, and she didn't send, like, a... That was an interesting thing, but I didn't think about it then. She sent a link to the photos, but didn't send a download code, only a link that, like, allows you to buy the photos. And I was like, that's kind of weird. But then I thought, like, oh, she's making a book out of it. I guess that makes sense. But now, come to think of it, looking back on the situation, like... Okay, so, like, you weren't going to give us the photos and then you were going to profit off of our photos? Like, all you did was just, like, take our picture?
Yeah.
But, you know, that's beside the point.
But, like, months went by. We didn't even think about it. It was to the point, like, hello, it was a pandemic. We weren't, like, thinking out, like, what happened to that book? I think it came up, like, once or twice.
Yeah, occasionally I thought about it because I wanted to post the photos, but I never got, like, a confirmed, like, I could post them or not. Because...
Yeah. Like, we both had them as, like, wallpapers. Like, I have it on my phone, and Rebel has it on her desktop photo. And you had reached out to her, like, recently, too. Mm-hmm. Like, 2 weeks ago or so?
Pretty recently, and I had been, like... Actually, I think it was, like, a month or so ago.
Oh, okay.
And I had been like, hey, like... Can you let me know, like, can I post these photos? Like, are you gonna use them for the book? Like, is it okay to post them? Like, I don't want to just, like, reveal the photos that you're putting in your book, you know? And she was like, oh, so sorry. I actually, like, all of the photos got lost. My car got broken into and my external hard drive was stolen. And so I don't have any of the photos. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I screenshotted some of them. Like, do you want them? And so I sent them to her, and she's like, oh, no, it's okay. And I was like, okay.
Which is weird.
Yeah, it was weird. And then she was like, but we can just schedule something for later. And I was like, okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
And that's how that conversation ended.
I remember being like, oh, dang. Not even thinking. I remember the one thought I had was like, that's interesting that, like, you just, like, had your external hard drive.
Also, who steals external hard drives?
Yeah. So, here we are just a few days ago. And I get a message, a DM from my friend and coworker, Jay. And she's like, hey, like, just want to let you know, like, sent me a screenshot of this other skater, Katie, that Badlands Photo worked with, a conversation, and said... just a heads up, because I know she photographed you and Rebel. And in the screenshot, I couldn't see a name, so I was like, I don't get what's happening. Like, what the hell? So I go to Katie's story, and, like, immediately, I'm sitting at work, and I had just finished a client's hair, or at school, and I'm literally like, are you fucking kidding me? This screenshot was of Katie. I don't have the first one, sorry, but it was something like Katie being like, oh, something about, like, couples, two tattooed women in love and roller skates, and sounds like a love story, like a low-key dream. And Badlands Photo messages back and says, hey, sorry, I was driving when I saw this, so I actually personally don't shoot same-sex couples due to my religious views. I really hope this doesn't hurt or offend you. I truly don't want that. I completely respect the LGBTQ plus community. It's just my personal religious views. And then it went on to, like, I wish I had a screenshot of that too. Oh, here it is. So then Katie said, dang, that's really disheartening to hear. Honestly, that's pretty homophobic of you. I hope that you can grow past that kind of thought soon. I hope that you stop using queer roller skaters for your projects until you learn to give them actual respect and not just use them as objects to make your photos look cool. Didn't you take photos of Shove and Rebel? They are very gay, lol. I hope this can be a learning experience for you, as most of the roller skating community is queer, and if you want anything to do with it, you should start by respecting and honoring queer people. Have a good rest of your day. And I don't know, and just kept going, and...
Well, then she said, like, do you have the screenshot?
No,
that's
the other one, the next
then
part...
Then she said,
was
that's why I canceled the project.
She canceled the project because the roller skating community's beliefs were basically, like, challenging her religious beliefs. And it's true, because, like, we talk about it all the time, like, this roller skate community does not stand for homophobia, fat phobia, ableism. Like, we accept everyone. No transphobia. Like, what? And then...
Oh, I found it. Hey, yeah, I have actually stopped the project completely because I realized I have a lot of views that the community doesn't agree with, and I didn't want to offend anyone in the process. I really appreciate you taking the time to tell me all those things, and I hope you have a good night, too.
Yeah, and, like, why'd you lie to Rebel and say that, oh, I got lost? Why didn't you tell Rebel that?
Yeah, that's when you lost the opportunity to be called in, by the way. Like, I will always call you in until you stop or, like, ruin the channel of communication for me, and then I'm calling you out, which is what happened. Like, if she had talked to me and been like, hey, like, I had a come to Jesus moment, which growing up in the church, I fucking get. Like, I had those moments. Like, I had sex a bunch of times, and then someone talked to me, and I was like, oh, you're right. Like, I need to cut everyone who I had sex with out of my life, because that's not what Jesus would have wanted. And, like, yeah, I understand what that's like, but you didn't do that. Instead of doing that, what you did was you lied to me. And what?
Yeah, so honestly, like, I fucking dragged the bitch, and yeah, I lost followers over it, but I gained even more, and it doesn't, at the end of the day, that doesn't matter, but that's just proof that, like, the trash took itself out. Some people said it was bullying and all this stuff, but all I did was say that you can't, people were trying to say it's not homophobic if it's your religious beliefs. And I'm sorry, if your religion says that you can't serve black people, does that mean you're not racist? If your religious person says, or your religion says that you can't take photos of your religion says you can't take photos of disabled people in wheelchairs, does that mean you're not ableism because your God says you can't? Like, you can't just, like, no.
Yeah, that's not how that works. And the thing is we weren't bullying her, because all we did was put the truth on the internet. Like, yep. It's not like we were like, fuck you, blah, blah. Yeah. Actually, we kind of were. But, like, it's not like we were, like, calling her all these names. Like, we were literally like, you are being homophobic. This is what you said.
I was basically trying to make sure that anyone followed her, or if she reached out to try to take photos of any more people in my freaking beautiful community, that they knew not to trust this person, because we don't want our photos taken by a homophobic person. So, and
because having someone who's homophobic come into our house and take our pictures within our sacred safe space is a huge problem. Honestly, if you're homophobic, don't come anywhere near my home.
And that's what set me off. Okay, thank you. Because I was like, I'm missing something. So for me, that's when my eyes started twitching, and I was literally sitting in school. There's no one I could talk to. Anyone that knows me knows that, like, respect is a huge fucking thing with me. Like, people can, like, disrespect me, and I will chop them off and never look, like a dead arm. I'll just chop it off, never look back, and be fine for it, be better for it. And I felt like disrespect. I felt like my privacy and my love that I let someone into my home and witness our love was violated, that I let the enemy inside of my home and, like, was just smiling in our face just to turn around to be someone that hates something that me and my family is. And it just felt like such, like, I don't know, like, it was a fucking violation. And that's why I popped off. I popped off for a full 24 hours because I didn't know how to deal with that feeling of being used, violated, the distrust. Like, you came to my home, you knew we were queer, you already had these beliefs, and yet you were trying to, what, clout chase and become a famous photographer?
And make money off of us?
And make money off of us because the roller skates are trending? She didn't know a damn thing about roller skating because she was using weird terms, didn't understand anything about where we were skating or what we were doing, didn't know jack shit about roller skating. And that was the other flag where I was like, that's weird. Like, I'd wish that a roller skater would make the first roller skate book, but hey, we can't stop her. So at least we're here to, like, be a part of it, so that there's some kind of substance to it. Yet here we are, that it, like, this was my fear of skating trending. When something trends and it trends fast, you can't control the people that join it and the people that flaunt to it and want to abuse it and exploit it. Like, I don't know. It's just a violation of so many sorts. And that's what pissed me off. And it also helped me weed out so many people that were following me that I had to hit that block button because they were trying to make excuses for her and saying that, well, you know, if it's her religious, you can't really do anything about it. She just has to be homophobic, so you should shut up and not say anything.
Yeah, also, I think that this is an important time to talk about how if someone has been harmed, you don't get to tell the person that's been harmed how they cope and how they react to it. So if someone has had a thing happen to them, you don't get to police how they react. You don't get to tell them, you can't be emotional. You can't be angry. You can't defend yourself. You don't get to say those things to people who are victims of something. Like, that is trying to make a victim a perfect victim, and that's not your job, and that is completely and entirely inappropriate. So trying to get someone to react in a certain way or not say certain things that are not things that are like majorly inflammatory and like harmful to others. But if someone's just like airing their feelings or their grievances or speaking the truth about something, you can't just be like, shh, 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 that's not appropriate. It's like, no, my grief is appropriate even if it makes you uncomfortable. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're not coping right. Well, my coping is to talk fucking shit, drag someone through the mud, and then I'm better, and then they can go their own way, and I'll go my own way, and they're good until they try me again. And that's how I cope with things. And that's what I have to do to move on from something. And it felt like people were attacking me when I was the one. Like, you can't try to gaslight me and be like, no, like, it's actually, there's nothing to do. Like, you're the one being a bully. Like, it's wrong what you're doing.
Yeah, that is gaslighting.
And I had a moment where I was like, am I being the bad guy right now? And it was like, no, it's wrong for someone to hate me because of who I love. Like, what? I'm not doing anything wrong. This person should not be allowed to take photos of anyone that is in my community, that is queer, that nothing. I don't even want this person getting hired from someone that is an ally, because they're just spreading and rubbing their hypocrisy on other people's love. And it's just like, I can't stand people that have hatred full in their heart. And then it makes me have to have hatred, because now I'm like, I hate your hate so much that it makes me hate you as a person. And it's just a cycle. And I just want people to be decent people.
Yeah, and we see ourselves, obviously, if you can't tell by this episode, we see ourselves as protectors of the skate community. You know, we see ourselves as protectors of our friends and of other queer people. And obviously, like, we can't protect everyone or whatever, and that's not like our job. But we want to make sure that other people don't have the experience that we had. Because for me, it was deeply traumatizing and deeply triggering. And the whole day I was so fucking out of it because I felt like I was being fucking outed all over again. And everything that was happening with the church was happening again, except it happened in this space that was cleansed from all of that shit. Like, I haven't had any of that shit happen at this house, and then she had to come in and ruin it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways.
So, yeah.
Don't be homophobic.
I also learned that, like, okay, we know that us, and by us I mean you listening, because you're probably most likely a member of the skate community as well, that when something happens to one of us, not just like me and Rebel, but like any skater, that it's like when someone fucks with the queen bee, like, everyone gets their horns out and like their claws out and they attack, like they swarm.
Yeah, it was real.
So, like, I'm gonna be honest, me and Rebel didn't really bully her, but I know for a fact a lot of other skaters straight up attacked. Like,
yeah,
this woman had to turn her comments off, had to take down her submission form off her site, her TikTok comments off. And I know, like, part of me thought, like, I was like, do I tell people they shouldn't do this? But at the same time, like, I would do the same thing if it would have happened to another skater. And I think when it comes to a community that's so united and has the beliefs, like, that's what we do. We're gonna, like, let you know. It's like a mini war. We're like, no, we're gonna, like, show you. We're gonna hold it up. And it doesn't go on forever. We're just gonna show you our power so that you know better. And that's all it was. So some people want to think it's bullying, and it's no, it was letting someone know.
And it's also a flex to, like, let other people know, don't do this shit.
Yep, because I think a lot of times people just let things slide. And they're just like, no, like, that sucks, but it's okay. And they don't say anything about it. And then what happens? Either that person comes back or another person comes back. And it just keeps happening before next thing you know, it's like a cancer that spreads, and now that community is tarnished. And we're very hard, whether it's a brand or a person, like, no matter what, that, like, we're going to let you know, like, you're staying away. And that definitely happened. I make the joke that it's like, oh, it's like Beyonce and the Beehive. Like, if you come for her and then, like, everyone does the emoji of bees and, like, they'll drag that person. That's definitely what happened.
But it's like, instead of for Queen Bee, it's like for the heart of the skate community.
Yeah. So, thank you to everyone that had our backs.
And thank you to everyone who sent us nice messages. I know that we, like,
So
I know
nice
I really needed to hear all of those. And so, thank you.
It meant a lot. There was definitely, like, maybe only 2% of, like, ignorant people and, like, cruel things. And so many more that were just full of love and support. And just, like, jokes that made me laugh. Like, I know Fever in New Zealand was making memes. But, like, and I was like, that is cold, but I'm laughing, and it's what I need right now. And then it passed, and I hope that Badlands Photography knows that they do not have a place here.
Yep.
So, yeah. Don't worry if you yourself listening ever experience anything. Don't be afraid to post about it. And let people know. And people will share that message. And it's a way for us to protect one another. So that's what really happened. It was something really hurtful and bad and traumatic that happened. We posted about it. It spread like wildfire. And hopefully other people know. So now that they will be protected. So they don't have to go through the same experience. And that is the strength and the power that is the skate community. Time to head over to some more lighthearted things.
Like, find your skate date.
Find your skate date is where we, like it says, help you find your skate date. If you're looking for someone that will skate with you, help you get that awesome clip, show you a new trick, or just have your support, this is where you write in and tell us a little bit about yourself and send us a picture too, so that way we can post about you on our Instagram. We help you find platonic or romantic love, and yeah.
You can do that by emailing us at dearskatedate@gmail.com. So again, email us your name, your Instagram handle, your pronouns, and a little bio about yourself and a picture. And we will talk about you on the podcast, and then we'll post about you on our Skate Date Instagram. This week's Skate Date is
Laura. Laura says, "Hi, Shovel. First of all, thank you so much for the confidence and inspiration to get my fat butt in a pair of roller skates.
Yeah.
Your videos have helped me on my new skate journey as well as my body positivity journey, and I can't thank you enough." Aw, thank you. My name is Laura, she, her. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. I'm looking for platonic skate dates. I've had my skates for about a month. Friends of any skill level are welcome. I would love some fellow newbies to be nervous at skate parks with, or some pros to teach me how to do transitions because I'm lightweight terrified of them. I'm heavyweight terrified of everything. That was me. Okay, so my goals are park skate and to join derby team eventually.
Hell yeah.
I'm a giant fantasy nerd. I love D&D. I feel like so many people are in D&D now, and it's like, it's everywhere.
Yeah, I feel like it's always been everywhere, and now it's just becoming like a little bit more mainstream.
It's like D&D's cool now. It used to be like a nerd thing in the 70s.
Yeah,
and like a nerd thing recently, but
I
like
don't know. I think it's like people are okay with people being nerds. Like, I think that nerding isn't like...
It doesn't matter if you're a nerd.
It doesn't matter if you're a nerd
Nerds
anymore.
Are cool.
I think like before it was like, oh, you're a nerd, but I don't think that anyone thinks that now.
I was definitely a nerd. Okay, anyways. Lord of the Rings. Yes. Game of Thrones. Double yes. Sorry, that sounded like I was weirdly turned on. Etc. Etc. I'm a metalhead at heart. Triple yes. But I listen to practically anything. I'm fully vaccinated and ready to make some friends. Wow, win, 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 win. That's what that whole paragraph was. IG at Muthro. Oh, mother, I get it. Mother of Dragons, but it's spelled MUTHROFDRAGNZ, Mother of Dragons.
Love it.
So yeah, if you want to hit up Miss Laura, who's a metalhead, vaccinated, and into the best kind of nerdy things, you should definitely give them a follow.
Yeah, do it. And if you want us to talk about your skate date, remember, dearskatedate@gmail.com. Also, Laura has the dopest hair.
It's slime green.
You'll see it on the Skate Date Instagram, coming soon to a Skate Date Instagram near you. All right, next up is Dear Shovel.
Dear Shovel, where we try to answer your questions / give you advice on things that we do not have any kind of education on, nor are we a licensed therapist, but here we go.
All right. If you want to ask your Dear Shovel question, just send a Dear Shovel question to dearskatedate@gmail.com. Today's Dear Shovel is, hello, Shovel. I dig you, bitches. We dig you, too. You are so damn cool and honestly my favorite people to follow. I've been skating for years now, dabbling in everything, but I feel cautious about certain groups. I feel like the skate park skaters are the least drama-filled. There is ego, sure, but not a ton of drama, so it seems. On the other hand, dance skaters, mostly mean the people skating backwards doing the struts and acting like they invented it, are always talking about or are in some sort of drama. Constant call-outs, sometimes warranted, but never calling in or being pregnancies themselves. I'm pretty sure that meant to be something else. But never calling in or... What do you think that word's supposed to be?
It. It's fine.
Constant call-outs, sometimes warranted, but never calling in or correcting themselves. I feel I really shine in that area of skate, but it seems so oversaturated with fake toxic people. How does one navigate this? XOXO, Sugar Brownie.
Ooh, loaded question.
I mean, okay, my first reaction is that there are so many dance skaters that are not prominent on the internet. And I think the prominence on the internet is where a lot of the drama and the toxic and that fakeness comes in. But there's so many dance skaters, so many rink skaters, so many jam skaters that don't have an internet following that are absolutely so freaking awesome. And I definitely think that if that's the place that you feel like you shine, there is definitely a group for you. It's just might take a little bit of searching to get to it.
We gotta remember that the troublemakers are always the loudest. There sure is drama. There's drama in every little subsection of roller skating, to be honest. I do notice it's a lot more cliquey when it comes from like park skating or even derby skating is cliquey. Let me just say, there is definitely like, I feel like people relate like always like park skating because we haven't had derby for over a year. So it's like park skaters or dance skaters, and there's nothing in between. There's just like this huge hyper focus on those two groups. So when you come from park skating, it is very welcoming. There's not really cliques. Like you could go alone and before you know it, another roller skater is rolling up to you and trying to help you do a trick, and you have a new friend. And then you go to a dance circle and you see that everyone kind of has their own little group. Sometimes they'll talk to you, like I know before the pandemic, like in Venice, like you could be skating on the edges walking and someone would skate over and try to teach you something. And I remember being afraid, like, why are you talking to me? Like, I'm embarrassed when people are watching. But something shift. I think it's like the downside of like becoming famous within a matter of months, like on the internet over doing dance skating, and then it became competitive and like there's money involved with like dance skating now. So like you got to get the good gig by being the best dancer, and it's like this weird like, I don't know, like celebrity thing happening where like there's these creative circles and it's like they don't want to create competition and they like gatekeep certain places and stuff. And I know it seems like, oh, people are calling out and there's drama on the internet, but that's a whole nother thing to get into. Like, sometimes not necessarily drama. It's that something bad's happening and someone has to talk about it, like we just talked about in our Will World section. And then it blows up because the person that did something wrong in the first place adds gasoline on it. And then, yeah, now we have internet drama. But what's crazy is a lot of these people that get in this drama are real quiet in real life. I've seen it myself. There's been people I've had drama with, and then I go to a skating event and they won't even make eye contact with me. So there's some weird shit where everyone's
there's some weird energy warrior. Going on.
Yeah.
But, like, also, I just feel like what Shove said is totally true. Like, I'm a part of a derby league, and let me tell you, there's so much freaking drama in that derby league. And every person that I've ever talked to that's in derby has been like, oh my god, there's so much drama here. And, like, I can also tell you from personal experience of all of the park skaters that I know, which I know a lot of park skaters, like, there's a lot of drama there, too. And so I just think anywhere you go, there's gonna be drama. It's just about, like, finding your crew and, like, finding the people that you click the most with and, like, finding your home and your community within it.
Yeah. I just feel like it's gonna kind of fix itself as soon as, like, the world is fully back to normal.
I agree.
I saw someone post, I don't know if it was on Instagram or Twitter, and someone was like, I can't wait for all the skate rinks to open back up so all these problematic click dance skaters can, like, go back to the territory they're used to being at, and it won't be the same.
Oh my gosh.
Because, like, everyone just has too much time on their hands, and, like, especially now that I'm, like, back in school and fully working, like, a lot of times I don't have time to, like, be paying attention to what people are doing online.
Like me, this whole time, Chef has to update me on everything that's happening, because I'm just, like, a perpetually busy person. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm just always working or doing something else, and she's like, did you see this? Did you see that? I'm like, no. Like, I literally posted, and then I left and went to work.
Yeah. Also, what a lot of people don't know is a lot of these, like, call-outs and, like, drama, I'm doing air quotes, that you're talking about and people see, they started as call-ins, and then they got escalated because they tried to be like, hey, slide in DMs, me like, yo, this isn't cool, or what's going on, and then it was met, like, with something that was also not cool, and that's when it escalates to, well, now I'm putting it out for everyone to see. So a lot of times we just don't see everything, or, like, we haven't been paying attention and seeing that it's been violation after violation after violation, and now that it's finally someone with a following that's posting about it, now it's blowing up, and then people are like, you started drama out of nowhere. It's like, no, this is someone that's been problematic for a long time, but now that someone that has a following has spoken up, now everyone's listening.
I would also say that there are definitely some, like, just straight up people who make shit up on the internet. Like, there are just people that, like, they literally just either want to start drama or want attention or something. And so they just, like, make stuff up about other people, and then people jump on board, and then all of a sudden there's this, like, clusterfuck going on, and you're like, literally none of that is true. So I don't know. But there's, like, no arguing or reasoning with people on the internet. So I don't know.
Yeah, internet. It's trash.
Yeah, I agree.
But, you know, sometimes you just gotta keep doing yourself. Don't get wrapped up in the drama. That's my best advice. Like, do what you love. Stick with the people that you know are chill. Just turn your shoulder, look away, unfollow people that aren't giving the same energy that you want, and you won't get your vibe harshed.
Yeah. Be a good person and surround yourself with the good people. And yeah.
Okay, Sugar Brownie. I hope that helped a little bit.
Yeah, I hope that helped. All right, we're wrapping this guy up.
Yep. We're over on time.
We're definitely over time. That's okay. That's just how much Shove missed you.
Yeah.
So this part of the podcast, we like to thank people who gave us 5 stars. And we're talking about 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. On Apple Podcasts, we're trying to get noticed by Apple and podcasts.
I don't know why, but yeah, we are.
I don't know why, but it just feels like this is what we should be doing. And so we love it if you give us any sort of feedback, whether it is like just like a comment or an idea or your thoughts, and we will shout you out on the podcast if you give us 5 stars and then a comment.
Yep, let's jump right in. All right, we got 5 stars from DisNerd86.
Hey, DisNerd86.
They say it's portable self-care. You'll laugh, you'll cry, and you'll find yourself talking back to the speakers of your car.
Oh my god, that's so cute.
Skate Date is that long overdue, brief, yet in-depth conversation with your best friends that you need to decompress after a mega long week.
Ah, for sure.
Kudos to Shove and Rebel for pouring out their positive energy for all of us to bask in. If you're not already listening, then you better start, capital letters, now.
Aww.
Purple heart emoji. Thank you so much, DisNerd86.
DisNerd86, we love you.
We do. And you all are our best friends. And
You really
we go
are.
on weekly platonic skate dates every Wednesday. And thank you so much for listening around. I think this is like episode 21
Of our second season,
2.
yeah.
What is life? We're still doing it.
Yeah. And don't tell anyone, but I think that I have a crush on my co-host.
As Bowie snores really loud.
All right, see you guys next week.
Bye.